In studying any branch of science, men begin and end with an unknown. The chemist accepts as data such conditions as matter as he finds about him, and connects ponderable matter with the displays of energy that may have impressed his senses, building therefrom a span of theoretical science, but he cannot formulate as yet an explanation regarding the origin or the end of either mind, matter, or energy. The piers supporting his fabric stand in a profound invisible gulf, into which even his imagination cannot look to form a theory concerning basic formations, cornerstones. The geologist, in a like manner, grasps feeble the lessons left in the superficial fragments of earth's strata, impressions that remain to bear imperfect record of a few of the disturbances that have affected the earth's crust, and he endeavors to formulate a story of the world's life, but he is neither able to antedate the record shown by the meager testimony at his command, scraps of a leaf out of God's great book of history, nor to anticipate coming events. The birth, as well as the death, of this planet is beyond his page. The astronomer directs his telescope to the heavens, records the position of the planets, and hopes to discover the influences worlds exert upon one another. He explores space to obtain data to enable him to delineate a map of the visible solar universe, but the instruments he has at command are so imperfect and mine is so feeble that, like mockery, seems his attempt to study beyond the facts connected with the motions and conditions of the nearest heavenly bodies, and he cannot offer an explanation of the beginning or cessation of their movements. He can neither account for their existence nor foretell their end. "Are you not mistaken?" I interrupted. "Does not the astronomer foretell eclipses and calculate the orbits of the planets, and has he not verified predictions concerning their several motions?" "Yes, but this is simply a study of passing events. The astronomer is no more capable of grasping an idea that reaches into an explanation of the origin of motion than the chemist or physicist, from exact scientific data, can account for the creation of matter. Give him any amount of material at rest, and he cannot conceive of any method by which motion can disturb any part of it, unless such motion by mass motion communicated form without, or molecular motion already existing wherein. His accounts for the phases of present motion in heavenly bodies, not for the primal cause of the actual movements or intrinsic properties they possess. He can neither originate a theory that will permit of motion creating itself and imparting itself to quiescent matter, nor imagine how an atom of quiescent matter can be moved unless motion from without be communicated thereto. The astronomer, I assert, can neither from any data at his command postulate nor prove the beginning nor the end of the reverberating motion that exists in his solar system, which is itself the fragment of a system that is circulating and revolving in and about itself, and in which, since the birth of man, the universe, he knows, has not passed the first milestone in the road that universe is traveling in space immensity. The mathematician starts a line from an imaginary point, then he informs us exists theoretically without occupying any space, which is a contradiction of terms according to his human acceptation of knowledge derived from scientific experiment. If science is based on verified facts, he assumes that straight lines exist, which is a necessity for his calculation. But such a line he has never made. Even the beam of sunshine radiating through a clear atmosphere or a cloud bank widens and contracts again as it progresses through the various mediums of air and vapor currents. And if it is ever spreading and deflecting, can it be straight? He begins his study in the unknown, it ends with the unknowable. The biologist can conceive of no rational, scientific beginning to life of plant or animal, and men of science must admit the fact. Whenever we turn our attention to nature's law and nature's substance, we find man surrounded by the infinity that obscures the origin and covers the end. But perseverance, study of nature's forces, and comparison of the past with the present will yet clarify human knowledge and make plain much of the seemingly mysterious, but never will man reach the beginning or the end. The course of human education to this day has been mostly materialistic, although, together with the study of matter, there has been more or less attention given to its moving spirit. Newton was a dividing light in scientific thought. He stepped between the reasonings of the past and the provings of the present, and introduced problems that gave birth to a new scientific tendency, a change from the study of matter from the material side to that of force and matter, for his thought has since been carried out in a mode too realistic by far. The study of material bodies has given way, it is true, in a few cases to the study of the spirit of matter, and evolution is beginning to teach men that matter is crude. As a result, thought will be in its sequence yet shown that modifications of energy expression are paramount. This work is not lost, however, for the consideration of the nature of sensible material is preliminary and necessary to progression, as the life of the savage prepares the way for that of the cultivated student, and is a meager and primitive child's effort compared with the richness of the study in unseen energy expressions that are linked with matter, of which men will yet learn. I comprehend some of this, I replied, but I am neither prepared to assent nor to dissent from your conclusions, and my mind is not clear as to whether your logic is good or bad. I am more ready to speak plainly about my own peculiar situation than to become absorbed in abstruse arguments in science, and I marvel more at the soft light that is here surrounding us than at the metaphysical reasoning in which you indulge. The child ignorant of letters wonders at the resources of those who can spell and read, and, in like manner, many obscure natural phenomena are marvelous to man only because of his ignorance. You do not comprehend the fact that sunlight is simply a matter-bred expression, an outburst of interrupted energy, and that the modification this energy undergoes makes it visible or sensible to man. What, think you, becomes of the flood of light energy that unincreasingly flows from the sun? For ages and eternity it has bathed this earth and seemingly streamed into space, and space, it would seem, must have long since have been filled with it, if, as men believe, space contains energy of any description. Man may say the earth casts the amount intercepted by it back into space, and yet does not your science teach that the great bulk of the earth is an absorber and a poor radiator of light and heat? What think you, I repeat, becomes of the torrent of light and heat and other forces that radiate from the sun, the flood that strikes the earth? It disappears, and, in the economy of nature, is not replaced by any known force or known motion of matter. Think you that earth's substance really presents an obstacle to the passage of the sun's energy? It is not probable that most of this light-producing essence, as a subtle fluid, passes through the surface of the earth and into its interior as light does through space, and returns thence to the sun again in a condition not discernible by man. He grasped my arm and squeezed it as though to emphasize the words to follow. You have used the term sunshine freely. Tell me, what is sunshine? Ah, you do not reply. Well, what evidence have you to show that sunshine, heat and light is not earth-bred, a condition that exists locally only, the result of contact between matter and some unknown force expression? What reason have you for accepting that, to other forms unknown and yet transparent to this energy, your sunshine may not be as intangible as the ether of space is to man? What reason have you to believe that a force torrent is not circulating to and from the sun and earth, inappreciable to man, excepting the mere trace of this force which, modified by contact action with matter, appears as heat, light, and other force expressions? How can I, if this is true, in consideration of your ignorance, enter into details explanatory of the action that takes place between matter and a portion of this force, whereby in the earth, first at the surface, darkness is produced, and then deeper down an earth light that man can perceive by the sense of sight, as you now realize? I will only say that this luminous appearance about us is produced by a natural law, whereby the flood of energy, invisible to man, as something clothed now under the name of darkness, after streaming into the crushed substance of the earth, is at this depth revivified, and then is made apparent to mortal eye, to be modified again as it merges from the opposite earth's crust, but not annihilated. For my vision, however, this central light is not a necessity. My physical and mental development is such that the energy of darkness is communicable. I can respond to its touches on my nerves, and hence I can guide you in this dark cavern. I am all eye. Ah, I exclaimed, that reminds me of a remark made by my former guide, who, referring to the instinct of animals, spoke of that as a natural power undeveloped in man. Is it true that by mental cultivation a new sense can be evolved whereby darkness may become as light? Yes, that which you call light is a form of sensible energy to which the faculties of animals who live on the surface of the earth have become adapted, through their organs of sight. The sun's energy is modified when it strikes the surface of the earth. Part is reflected, but most of it passes onward into the earth's substance in an altered or disturbed condition. Animal organisms within the earth must possess a peculiar development to utilize it under its new form, but such a sense is really possessed in a degree by some creatures known to men. This is a consciousness behind consciousness. There are grades and depths of consciousness. Earthworms and some fishes and reptiles in underground streams, lower organizations, men call them, do not use the organ of sight, but recognize objects, seek their food, and flee from their enemies. "They have no eyes," I exclaimed, forgetting that I spoke to an eyeless being. "How can they see?" You should reflect that man cannot offer a satisfactory explanation of the fact that he can see with his eyes. In one respect, these so-called lower creatures are higher in the scale of life than man is, for they see, appreciate without eyes. The surface of their bodies really are sources of perception and seats of consciousness. Man must yet learn to see with his skin, taste with his fingers, and hear with the surface of his body. The dissected nerve of the pupil of man's eye offers to the physiologist no explanation of its intrinsic power. Is not man unfortunate in having to risk so much on so frail an organ? The physiologist cannot tell why or how the nerve of the tongue can distinguish between bitter and sweet, or convey any impression of taste, or why the nerve of the ear communicates sound, or the nerve of the eye communicates the impression of sight. There is an impassable barrier beyond all forms of nerve impressions that neither the microscope nor other methods of investigation can help the reasoning senses of man to remove.